Hello everyone, welcome to Cloud World. My name is Santiago, welcome to this video. So following the previous session, we learned what is Docker, what is Kubernetes, and we learned some of the basic concept of how to interact between Docker and Kubernetes cluster. So before we can go back into the Azure side and work with the Kubernetes cluster, we need to learn how to push Docker images into the Azure portal. So in order to learn that, today we will learn how to create an Azure Container Registry, how it works, and we are going to see a couple of examples how to build an image and how to push it to the Azure side. So an Azure Container Registry, it is actually just a storage or a place where you can save your container images. So you will be able to store any images on the Azure Container Registries. You just need to build it and send it to the container registry. The container registry is going to hold your code compiling to those images, and you will be able to use them in whatever you need to. You can use them in the AKS cluster, as we eventually will do. You can do it in web applications as well, and in even more recent implementation, you can use those to deploy Azure Function, which is a topic we are going to be talking pretty soon. So the first thing that we need to do is to create the ACR, so let's follow up on that initial part. So in order to create an ACR, we need to provide the set of parameters. So as usual, we will be using the AC tool. We are going to interact with the ACR component, and we will be using the operation of create. As always, we need to provide the resource group, and we need to give a proper name to our container registry. This name can be whatever you want. Just make sure that you provide a name that doesn't contain any special characters in this case, because the ACR provides an open URL that you can use. So you need to follow up the proper naming convention in order to be able to have a proper web domain like HTTPS or something similar. The SKU is something that is pretty common in the cloud providers, or also in Azure in this case. And the SKU is which type of service level you would like to use. In today's example, we'll be using the basic one, which is of course the cheapest and provides the more basic solution. But if you are working on an enterprise solution, you will be best served with the upper versions, which allow you to build, store more bigger images, build faster your images, and also you can even have replication of your images throughout different regions in case you need to protect your compiled product, just in case. So let's execute this command. This is going to create the ACR for us. So we'll be back when this step has been completed. Now that the ACR has been created, as always, we have the proper response and stored into the response object, as we always save it. One of the most important properties that are going to be stored in this JSON object, it will be the login server. So as you can see, after the creation of your ACR, you will be provided with a URL. In this case, is the name that you choose, azurecr.io. And this is going to be the URL for your container registry. So for any operations that you would like to do against the ACR, you just use this particular value. Okay, so let's store this this value into another variable. This is going to be useful later. This is the URL of the ACR. So now we need to authenticate against the ACR. So then again, we will be using the ACR command on the login operation, and we just need to provide, in this case, the name of the ACR. So in this case, let's use the variable that we just created recently. Just remember, for this step to work, you will need two things. The first thing is you need to be logging into the Azure side using the AC login, using your credentials first. And also you will be required in this case to have at least Docker in order to be able to interact with the ACR. You can also use Podman as well, so choose whatever flavor you like the most. Okay, so the login has been successfully created. So what we actually are going to do right now is we are going to repeat some very basic steps that we did on the previous video, and we are going to be compiling the Docker image that we would like to push. So right now, my PowerShell script, as you can see, is actually on the root folder of the solution that we created on the previous steps. So in order to build an image, we will be using the ACR build command. In this case, we just need to provide a couple of things. The first thing, as always, we need to provide the name of the ACR, which is stored in the variable already. We need to give a proper name to our image. We can choose whatever name we would like to have in here. Just remember, this is going to be the name that is going to be used to store your image into the Azure portal, into the ACR. So in order to build this locally, you need to provide a Docker file, of course. And the last parameter that you need to provide is where the source code that you would like to build is located to. In this case, since we are setting up in the root folder of the source code, we can just leave it as a dot. So it is important to mention that this step is going to build your image using Azure resources. So this is going to be using a build agent on the Azure side. So that might incur in additional charges. It's going to be very cheap because this doesn't take too long, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that it is also going to be part of the billing that you might receive eventually. Okay, so this step is very quick. So this has been completed already, so we're good to go. So one of the good things of using the command that we just used with the ACR build is that your image is going to be compiled using your source code. You can use a GitHub repo or a private repo if you want to. Just make sure that you have the proper credential setups so the PowerShell can access your source code. But one of the greatest things is that this command is not only going to build your image, it's also going to push it into the Azure portal. So if we go to the browser very quickly, we are already setting up our ACR that we created throughout the console. If I refresh in here, we will see that we have a new repository. So each image that you push into the Azure portal with a particular name is going to be treated as a repository that you can clone later. So let's go back into the console and explore something very important. So there is another option that you can choose in order to build your image and actually push it to the Azure registry, and is using Docker or Podman tools. But before doing that, I would like to show you also that you can get the list of ACRs and repositories that you have into the local environment. So for that, let's use the ACR repository list. And let's just provide the name of the ACR as always. In this case, we can just dial back into the variable as well. And eventually we will get the different repositories that we have available in the Azure side. So as you can see, we also have the list of repositories available in the Azure portal. So you don't have to leverage as a developer too much on the Azure portal. I just showed you in the Azure portal to give you examples and a display version of the information that we are working on. Okay, so going back into the Docker side, we can then again, using the Docker build, we just need to provide the Docker file, the same as the previous one. We need to provide the context of build, and we need to tag our image. You are going to find something particular if you are using Docker in this case, that you need to provide the name of your ACR in order when you are tagging the image as slash, and after that you need to provide the name of the image that you would like to build. In this case, we are using a very similar name from the previous one, but we are attaching something additional to the name to create a new repository. So the Docker build is going to execute this locally, and if we go into the Docker side, we can see in here that our image has been built and is available in the local environment. So let's go back into the console for a second. And the second command that we need to do is, in order to send the image to the ACR, it will be the Docker push command. As the previous step, you just need to provide the name of the ACR and the name of the image that you would like to push. If your image have multiple tags, you can provide the name after the end of the image in this case, in case you want to have multiple tags in your local environment. So let's just execute this one. So these two steps are doing exactly the same thing that we did with the ACR build, but in two separate commands. And instead of using the Azure tools, we are using the Docker tooling. So let's wait a moment until this gets pushed, and we'll be back pretty soon. Okay, now that the steps have been completed for the Docker push, this image also has been sent into the Azure side. So let's take a look into this side. So then again, we use the ACR repository list, and we provide our ACR. We are going to see that we already have two images set up in the Azure Container Registry. Also, if we go to the browser and we refresh our listing here, we will see that both images are available in here. So going back into the console, we learned today that we can actually push very easily an image into the Azure Container Registry side using the Azure tooling or either Docker or similar tools. So for the final piece, let's remove the from Docker image. This is not going to be very helpful from us on the next video, where we are going to be connecting the ACR with Kubernetes and creating a new deployment using the new image that is pushing to the ACR. So let's use the last command that we will learn today, and then again we will use the repository object. In this case, we are going to be using the delete operation. We need to provide the name of the ACR and also the repository that we would like to delete. In this case, we will be deleting the image or the repository from Docker that we just created using the Docker build and the Docker push. So we will be asked to accept the deletion. As you can see, the image and the repository has been deleted on the Azure side. So if once more we do the ACR in repository list in this case, we will see that the repository is no longer present into the Azure portal. So let's go back also to the Azure portal just to clarify, and everything is ready to go. So today we learned how to interact easily with the Azure Container Registry, how to push images to it, and how to store those images on that side. So join me on the next video working with Kubernetes and the ACR together in order to deploy our first application into the cluster. Thank you. Have a great day.